Wow, it has been way too long since I made a video to post on this channel. I would like to start by saying that I think about you, the viewer, the people that know of this channel. It's a very exclusive group. Only the best of the best have ever heard of Safari Joe's YouTube. That's not to say Safari Joe or Safari Joe's library is the best of the best. That's to say Safari Joe, his viewers are the best of the best. That's you. So anyways, it's been far too long since I made a video. I think about making videos all the time, and I think about stories and things I'd like to read and share. I also just often think about little updates, little fun like jokes or just things going on that I'm like, oh man, I would love to share this with the viewers of Safari Joe's library. Again, if you are one of Safari Joe's viewers, you are the best of the best. Safari Joe is not the best of the best. His library isn't the best of the best, but his viewers, the best. That's enough of that. Let me continue with the video. So, just few very quick updates and things that I just really wanted to share with you. It is Sunday morning. It's 10:08, 10 o'clock, a little after 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm super excited about this video I'm about to make. Of course, you know that with the video, I have to have my coffee. So I've got my coffee right here. It's great. That's pretty much all I can say on that. And I apologize if sometimes I'm looking off to the side. The angle that I'm filming on my phone, the angle I have the camera, just puts it a little, just whatever. The camera where it's filming is over on this side, and I'm looking to just whatever. Just deal with it. Sorry, that was harsh. You're the best of the best. But one second. There is one super big update that I need to share with the viewers here on Safari Joe's library. This is the first time this information will be shared with these viewers, and I am so excited to share with you that after a long time, my wife and I, Mrs. Safari Joe, the better version, the better half of the Safari Joe team, have adopted a dog. That's right. I'm beyond excited. This dog is my world. I love this dog just as much as I love my rats, and that's a lot. Her name is Hope. I'm going to show you Hope in a second. The thing is, she's sleeping right now. She's all curled up on the couch right over here. I'm looking at her right now. She's adorable. She's sleeping. So I'm going to show you her, but you're not going to get the full view. I don't, because she's very small when she's curled up. So let me just tell you a little bit about Hope as I introduce you to her. Before I introduce you to her, I want you to know she has 3 legs. She is missing a leg. We adopted her a couple weeks ago, and she was missing a leg when we adopted her. And that's a long story, and it's a story for another day. If you are interested in hearing that story, here's what I want you to do. Comment on this video. I have comments turned off on my videos. However, if you comment on the video, it goes to me as a message and says, do you want this comment to appear on your video? Or do you just want to respond to it? So if you comment, I can still see it. I will still see it. I'll get it like a message. But story for another day of why my girl Hopi, we call her Hopi. We also call her, she has about 1,000 nicknames. We've had her for a little over a month. Next month, it'll be 2,000 nicknames. Video story for another time why she only has 3 legs. So let me introduce you to her. This is my girl, Hope. I apologize for the messiness in the background, and there are tons of Hopi toys and blankets and pillows on the couch here with her. So this is my girl. She's such a good girl. Such a good girl, little Hopi. Say hi to your friends. Oh, you sleepy, dog? Yeah, good girl. Okay. I'll let you get back to sleeping. So that's my girl, Hope. She is half pit bull, half terrier, is what they told us at the shelter. And the shelter also thinks that she is about 3 years old. We don't know for sure how old she is, but we think they said she's about 3. I think she's younger than that. She's a goofball. She's rolling around over there. Gotta have her head on a pillow now. Okay. So anyways, let's get into today's story. This is a story I've been wanting to share on this channel for a while. I really like this story. It's perfect for introducing Hopi during this video too, because today's story is called A Dark Brown Dog by Stephen Crane. I do want to say a couple of things before reading this story. The story it doesn't have a happy ending. This story is written in a different time of the world, okay? It's written when people weren't always so kind to animals, and that was more accepted, but this story is also very important. This story is what they call an allegory, and if you are watching this channel, you should know what an allegory is, because I love allegories. Safari Joe likes his allegories, okay? So an allegory, just a little reminder, is talking about a topic, right? You take a topic or an idea and you're creating a story that represents that topic or that idea. So it's almost like commenting. It's almost like telling a story about something using different characters and events. So this story is an allegory for something in history called the Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws that had to deal with segregation during the emancipation of slaves in America. So this is I really enjoy this story. I think it's a very powerful story, a very worthwhile story. It's not always the easiest story to read because it's not happy. But there's a lot of things in history that also are not happy. However, it's very important that we still acknowledge them, right? And learn from them. And I really like this story, so it's for that reason. And I want to share it. So anyways, I've been talking for about 8 minutes. As you all know, I can yap, I can ramble, I can talk like nobody's business about nothing all day. And I would enjoy to do that with you here on this channel. However, I don't want to waste your time. So let's get into the story. It is a little bit of a longer one. I wouldn't say long compared to the stories I've read on this channel, but it's not a quick story. So a couple minutes. Give me a couple minutes. A couple minutes of your time. Then you can move on, okay? Yeah. Good. Okay. It's the coffee talking. A child was standing on a street corner. He leaned with one shoulder against a high board fence, I'm leaning, and swayed the other to and fro, the while kicking carelessly at the gravel. This kid standing on the street, leaning on the fence, kicking gravel. Oh, by the way, I don't have a copy of this story on paper in a book or on paper anywhere, so I've got it open on my computer, which is set up right behind the phone that I'm recording on. So that's why I'm looking at the screen and I'm scrolling on the screen. Sunshine beat upon the cobbles and a lazy summer wind raised yellow dust, which trailed in clouds down the avenue. Clattering trucks moved with indistinctness through it. The child stood gazing dreamily. After a time, a little dark brown dog came trotting with intent air down the sidewalk. So this dog comes walking as though it's got a plan. A short rope was dragging from his neck. Occasionally he trod upon the end of it and stumbled. This dog walks up, there's a rope on its neck. We don't know where it's coming from, and every now and then it trips on the rope. He stopped opposite the child, and the two regarded each other. The dog hesitated for a moment, but presently he made some little advances with his tail. The child put out his hand and called him. In an apologetic manner, the dog came close, and the two had an interchange of friendly pattings and waggles. The dog became more enthusiastic with each moment of the interview, until, with his gleeful caperings, he threatened to overturn the child. So this dog's so excited, and he's bouncing, and he's jumping, and he wants to play. First, he's very shy, he's not sure. Then he kind of slowly introduces himself to the child, and now he's excited, he wants to play, that to the point that the degree that he almost knocks the kid over. Whereupon the child lifted his hand and struck the dog a blow upon the head. So the kid hit the dog on the head to say, "Settle down." This seemed to overpower and astonish the little dark brown dog and wounded him to the heart. So he's sad. He didn't expect that. He sank down in despair at the child's feet. When the blow was repeated, together with an admonition of childish sentences, he turned over upon his back and held his paws in a peculiar manner. At the same time, his ears and his eyes, he offered a small prayer to the child. So this kid keeps hitting the dog, just smacking him on the head and saying gibberish, just saying childish things. You should know about that. And the dog it flips on its back, which is a sign of submissiveness in dogs, which means they're saying, "Hey, I'm not a threat. I'm not going to attack you. I'm friendly. This is I'm on my back," putting his paws up maybe like this. And the eyes are saying, "Hey, I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Continuing now. He looked so comical on his back and holding his paws peculiarly that the child was greatly amused and gave him little taps repeatedly to keep him so. So the child says, "Hey, I like this, so I'm going to keep hitting you, not as hard, but a little bit, because I like what you're doing." But the little dark brown dog took his punishment, in the most serious way, and no doubt considered that he had committed some grave crime, for he wriggled contritely and showed his repentance in every way that was in his power. He pleaded with the child and petitioned and offered him more prayers. When they say the word prayers, they just, in this sense, in this story, it doesn't mean that the dog is doing what we think of as praying. It means that the dog is offering up it's giving its innocence to the child. It's saying, please forgive me. I'm here to do what you would like. I'm here to be, I want to be a good dog for you. At last, the child grew weary of this amusement and turned toward home. The dog was praying at that time. He lay on his back and turned his eyes upon the retreating form. Presently, he struggled to his feet and started after the child. The latter wandered in a perfunctory way toward his home, stopping at times to investigate various matters. During one of these pauses, he discovered the little dark brown dog, who was following him with the air of a footpad. The child beat his pursuer with a small stick he had found. So now the kid's hitting the dog with the stick. The dog lay down and prayed until the child had finished and resumed his journey. Then he scrambled up and took up the pursuit again. So now the kid was like, I'm done. I'm not having fun hitting this dog with a stick anymore, so I'm going to keep walking. And the dog is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but I want to keep following you." On the way to his home, the child turned many times and beat the dog, proclaiming with childish gestures that he held him in contempt as an unimportant dog with no value save for the moment. For being this quality of animal, the dog apologized and eloquently expressed regret, but he continued stealthily to follow the child. His manner grew so very guilty that he slunk like an assassin. When the child reached his doorstep, the dog was industriously ambling a few yards in the rear. He became so agitated with shame when he again confronted the child that he forgot the dragging rope. He tripped upon it and fell forward. The child sat down on the step, and the two had another interview. During it, the dog greatly exerted himself to please the child. He performed a few gambols with such abandon that the child suddenly saw him to be a valuable thing. He made a swift, avaricious charge and seized the rope. The child took the rope. He says, "All right, you're my dog now." He dragged his captive into a hall and up many long stairways in a dark tenement. The dog made willing efforts, but he could not hobble very skillfully up the stairs because he was very small and soft, and at last the pace of the engrossed child grew so energetic that the dog became panic-stricken. In his mind, he was being dragged toward a grim unknown. His eyes grew wild with the terror of it. He began to wiggle his head frantically and brace his legs. His dog doesn't know where he's going. He's getting a little spooked. The child redoubled his exertions. They had a battle on the stairs. The dog was like, "I don't really want to go." And the kid's now fighting him, saying, and with double the muscle, saying, "Let's go, let's go." The child was victorious because he was completely absorbed in his purpose and because the dog was very small. He dragged his acquirement to the door of his home and finally, with triumph, crossed the threshold. No one was in. The child sat down on the floor and made overtures to the dog. These the dog instantly accepted. He beamed with affection upon his new friend. In a short time, they were firm and abiding comrades. When the child's family appeared, they made a great row. They made a lot of commotion. The dog was examined and commented upon and called names. Scorn was leveled at him from all eyes, so that he became much embarrassed and drooped like a scorched plant. But the child went sturdily to the center of the floor and at the top of his voice championed the dog. It happened that he was roaring protestations with his arms clasped about the dog's neck when the father of the family came in from work. The parent demanded to know what the blazes they were making the kid howl for. It was explained in many words that the infernal child wanted to introduce a disreputable dog to the family. A family council was held. On this depended the dog's fate, but he in no way heeded, being busily engaged in chewing the end of the child's dress. The affair was quickly ended. The father of the family, it appears, was in a particularly savage temper that evening, and when he perceived that it would amaze and anger everybody if such a dog were allowed to remain, he decided that it should be so. So now the dad wants to upset people. The child, crying softly, took his friend off to a retired part of the room to hobnob with him, while the father quelled a fierce rebellion of his wife. So it came to pass that the dog was a member of the household. He and the child were associated together at all times, save when the child slept. The child became a guardian and a friend. If the large folk kicked the dogs and threw things at him, the child made loud and violent objections. Once, when the child had run, protesting loudly, with tears raining down his face and his arms outstretched to protect his friend, he had been struck in the head with a very large saucepan from the hand of his father. Enraged at some seeming lack of courtesy in the dog, ever after, the family were careful how they threw things at the dog. Moreover, the latter grew very skillful in avoiding missiles and feet. In a small room containing a stove, a table, a bureau, some chairs, he would display strategic ability of a high order, dodging, feinting, and scuttling about among the furniture. He could force 3 or 4 people armed with brooms, sticks, and handfuls of coal to use all their ingenuity to get a blow. And even when they did, it was seldom that they could do him a serious injury or leave any imprint. But when the child was present, these scenes did not occur. It came to be recognized that if the dog was bothered, the child would burst into sobs. And as the child, when started, was very riotous and practically unquenchable, the dog had therein a safeguard. So if the family messes with the dog, the kid gets really upset and protects the dog, and this is now the dog's protector. However, the child could not always be near. At night, when he was asleep, the dark brown friend would raise from some black corner a wild, wailful cry, a song of infinite loneliness and despair that would go shuddering and sobbing among the buildings of the block and cause people to swear. At these times, the singer, the dog, would often be chased all over the kitchen and hit with a great variety of articles. Sometimes, too, the child himself used to beat the dog, although it is not unknown that he ever had what could be truly called a just cause. So this saying, the kid would sometimes hit the dog for no reason. The dog always accepted these thrashings with an air of admitted guilt. Even though the dog did nothing, it seemed like maybe I did something. Maybe I am guilty. He was too much of a dog to try to be a martyr or to plot revenge. He received the blows with deep humility, and furthermore, he forgave his friend the moment the child had finished. He was ready to caress the child's hand with his little red tongue. Right after the kid finishes hitting the dog, beating the dog is like, I'm sorry and I want to love you. He did not achieve, When misfortune came upon the child and his troubles overwhelmed him, so this is about the kid would often crawl under the table and lay his small distressed head on the dog's back. The dog was ever sympathetic. It was not to be supposed that at such times he took occasion to refer to the unjust beatings his friend, when provoked, had administered him. So in these moments when the kid is upset and wants comforting from the dog is sympathetic. He does not think back to when the kid was hitting him for no reason, beating him for no reason. The dog just thinks, my friend is upset. My caretaker is upset. I want to be there for that person. He did not achieve any notable degree of intimacy with the other members of the family. He had no confidence in them, and the fear that he would express at their casual approach often exasperated them exceedingly. They used to gain a certain satisfaction in underfeeding him, but finally the child grew to watch the matter with some care, and when he forgot it, the dog was often successful in secret for himself. So the dog prospered. He developed a large bark, which came wondrously from such a small rug of a dog. He ceased to howl persistently at night. Sometimes, indeed, in his sleep he would utter little yells as from pain, but that occurred, no doubt, when his dreams he encountered huge flaming dogs who threatened him direfully. His devotion to the child grew until it was a sublime thing. He wagged at his approach. He sank down in despair at his departure. He could detect the sound of the child's steps among all the noises of the neighborhood. It was like a calling voice. The scene of their companionship was a kingdom governed by this terrible potentate, the child. So their friendship is only as much or as little as the child is willing to give. But neither criticism nor rebellion ever lived for an instant in the heart of the one subject, meaning the dog never felt a grudge. He never held a grudge. He never felt negatively towards the child, even if the child wasn't treating him well. Down in the mystic, hidden fields of this little dog soul bloomed flowers of love and fidelity and perfect faith. The child was in the habit of going on many expeditions. We're pretty close to the end of the story. The child was in the habit of going on many expeditions to observe strange things in the vicinity. On these occasions, his friend usually jogged aimfully along behind. Perhaps, though, he went ahead. This necessitated his turning around every quarter mile to make sure the child was coming. He was filled with a large idea of the importance of these journeys. He would carry himself with such an air. He was proud to be the retainer of so great a monarch. One day, however, the father of the family got quite exceptionally drunk. He came home and held carnival with the cooking utensils, the furniture, and his wife. He was in the midst of this recreation when the child, followed by the dark brown dog, entered the room. They were returning from their voyages. The child's practiced eye instantly noticed his father's state. He dived under the table, where experience had taught him was a rather safe place. The dog, lacking skill in such matters, was, of course, unaware of the true condition of affairs. He looked with interested eyes at his friend's sudden dive. He interpreted it to mean joyous gambol, like a fun game. He started to patter across the floor to join him. He was the picture of a little dark brown dog en route to a friend. So this is the scene. This is where our story takes a sad turn. So if you have been sad and not made it greatly through the story, please know this is where our unhappy ending begins. The little dark brown dog starts walking happily over to his friend. He's like, hey, we're playing a game. I love my person. This is the only person I love. I see my friend. The child is like, hey, this is not a good situation. I'm hiding for my safety. The dog doesn't understand that. The dog thinks they're playing a fun game, so he goes to try to join. The head of the family, the father, saw him at this moment. He gave a huge howl of joy and knocked the dog down with a heavy coffee pot. The dog, yelling in supreme astonishment and fear, writhed to his feet and ran for cover. The man kicked out with a ponderous foot. It caused the dog to swerve as if caught in a tide. A second blow of the coffee pot laid him upon the floor. Here, the child, uttering loud cries, came valiantly forth like a knight. The father of the family paid no attention to these calls of the child, but advanced with glee upon the dog. Upon being knocked down twice in swift succession, the latter apparently gave up all hope of escape. He rolled over on his back and held his paws in a peculiar manner. So this dog is on his back again. This dog is saying, I'm a friend, please stop hitting me, with a coffee pot. At the same time, with his eyes and ears, he offered up a small prayer. But his father, the father, was in a mood for having fun, and it occurred to him that it would be a fine thing to throw the dog out the window. So he reached down and, grabbing the animal by a leg, lifted him, squirming, up. He swung him 2 or 3 times around his head and then flung him with great accuracy through the window. So the dad just threw the dog out the window for no reason. The soaring dog created a surprise in the block. A woman watering plants in an opposite window gave an involuntary shout and dropped a flower pot. A man in another window leaned perilously out to watch the flight of the dog. A woman who had been hanging out clothes in the yard began to caper wildly. Her mouth was filled with clothespins, but her arms gave vent to a sort of exclamation. In appearance, she was like a prisoner, like a gagged prisoner. Children ran whooping. The dark brown body crashed in a heap on the roof of a shed 5 stories below. From there, it rolled to the pavement of an alleyway. The child in the room far above burst into a long, dirge-like cry and toddled hastily out of the room. It took him a long time to reach the valley, because his size compelled him to go downstairs backwards, 1 step at a time, and holding with both hands to the step above. When the family came for him later, they found the child seated by the body of his dark brown friend. And that's the end of our story. A lot of ups and downs in that story, a lot of difficulty in that story. I'm not going to talk for too long now because this is a half-hour video. That's crazy. But I hope that story made you feel some emotion, right? Made you think about something. In my opinion, if a story, if a book, a movie, a song, a poem, a picture, whatever it is, makes you feel an emotion, it's well done. That's just my opinion. Unless it's boring, then maybe if your emotion that you're feeling is boring, then maybe that's not, for you, it's not the best piece of art. That's okay. If you have any recommendations or you're like, hey, Safari Joe, I think you should do this differently. Change this up. Do this, do that. Let me know in the comments. Again, I'm going to have comments turned off, but I get the comments that you make as a message, and I can see them. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. You are a valuable person. Not just because you watch Safari Joe, but because you are you. Peace.